Like, why do we have two members?
Right, I will call to order the meeting tonight, 6 o'clock, January 6th. We could all rise and pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, roll call.
Councilmember Wade.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Sheet.
Here,
Soames.
present.
Richardson.
All right, the first item on our agenda is discussion regarding the mayor position. I will turn it over to Wade to kick us off on that.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'll do is just kick it over to Doug. My update would be I talked to Stephanie this afternoon, and I know she asked you to chair the meeting. Doug has a legal opinion. I've also talked to the League of Cities, which I shared a document with that earlier today. I know her position is that she wants to give a couple more weeks for the attorneys to talk about this. We don't have a formal resignation, but in light of what Doug's about to tell you, she thought her best course of action was to let you chair the meeting tonight. So that's the quick update, but for greater details, I'll turn it over to Doug.
Thanks, Wade. As the council knows, we were asked to give an opinion regarding what is the effect of having a mayor also take the position of the county supervisor. And the effect that, in the analysis that you have to undergo in those situations, is whether those two offices are incompatible under Iowa law. I'm going to tell you right now, it's very vague. It doesn't happen a lot, so there isn't a lot of case law out there, but there are two attorney general opinions in the past, one's over 100 years old, that have said that the position of city mayor and county supervisor are incompatible. And as such, you can only occupy one office. And really what they talk about in the attorney general's opinion is the fact that we've got to, when you're looking at two different positions, it really comes down to are there situations when there's an unfairness to one entity or another, or an unfairness putting multiple duties in one person's hands. Now, in the 1993 Attorney General's opinion, they talked about the conference board because the conference board is the assessor, and the mayor sits on the conference board as well as the supervisors. Now, legislation has changed somewhat so that the mayor can be taken off that to alleviate any conflict of interest. But the attorney general goes back and says that you've got to look at things that can be conflicts of interest between the city and the county. And are those things that are hurting either the city or the county to the extent that one person should occupy those offices, or where conflict of interest, real or perceived, because sometimes there are just conflicts that and lawyers and judges deal with this all the time, whether or not we have a conflict of interest really, or do we have a conflict of interest that is perceived, and to the extent that we're not satisfying our obligation, be zealous advocates or be impartial when we need to be impartial. So that's what the attorney general looked at is are those type of situations where there's a conflict of interest that could occur in those positions. Take, what we've dealt with here over the last year about swapping property between the county and the city. That now we're finishing up those swaps, but that's conflict of interest. You have one person being the mayor, looking out for the city of Indianola's interests, and one person being the county supervisor, who's supposed to be looking out for the county's interests. Even with those swaps completed, the city or the county is now the landlord for the library. So you've got a situation where there could be a conflict of interest arise there. Were there to be any annexation petitions, that would be a conflict between the city and the county. The same for TIF. In a TIF situation where all the tax dollars are going back to pay pay off those development costs. The county has to partake in that and waive their share of taxes on that TIF district. So again, there could be a potential conflict of interest when one is advocating for TIF dollars to go to the city to pay for something and to benefit the city, and the county is giving up tax revenues. And there's a myriad of other things that could occur. So that's where the Attorney General came down and said that those conflicts of interest are so many that you couldn't readily identify every one. And it could give citizens of both the county and the city concerns about whether or not the elected official is doing what they're supposed to. Now you can say, well, so what? Well, if the problem is that we do have solid Supreme Court case law that says if two positions are found to be incompatible, then by taking a second position that's incompatible with the position you had, you automatically have resigned from your prior position because you have taken an incompatible position. Now, if it's one, let's say it's one of you all, you could almost say, well, let's see how this goes and we'll play it out, because worst case scenario is you find out you're in a incompatible position, your vote can't count. So as long as you had a five or six person vote, fine, your vote can be thrown out. Problem with the mayor is, and I talked to Stephanie about this, and she gets it too, she understands. Problem with the mayor is that the mayor signs every resolution, every ordinance, every contract that the city of Indianola has. I think I'm right on this opinion, but others might disagree. My position is, if I'm right, then we have to declare the position vacant. Because if the other side's wrong, then everything that's done by that official after they assumed an incompatible position is null and void. My job is not to represent, and this isn't personal to Stephanie or anyone else. This is just about two positions. My job as the city attorney, even though we're hired by the city council, is to protect the city of Indianola from liability. That's why I have to be conservative on this, and I have to say those two positions are incompatible. We can't have Stephanie act as mayor, because whatever she would do as mayor could be null and void. We've asked the Attorney General to update the opinion, but that takes months. And so there's just not going to be enough time to figure that out in time. Because the problem is, once we kind of create our own problem, but I think everyone would agree, and I talked to Stephanie about this too, and she gets it too. Once we declare that position vacant, or once that position is vacant, mayor, you have 60 days to determine whether you're going to appoint that position. So the clock's running. So we can't take forever to make this decision. Plus, you've got to give a notice of intent. If you're going to appoint to the position, you've got to give a notice of intent to appoint, give people 14 days to file or gain signatures on petitions to force a special election. So really, you only have about 30 days if you're going to be able to get everything done. So we don't have that much time. So we're going to have to make a decision. Doesn't have to be tonight. In fact, we don't have an action item tonight. This is just a discussion item. But that's kind of in a nutshell where I stand on this. I did talk to the League of Cities. They're not going to give us a legal opinion because they don't do that. They follow the same Attorney General's opinions. I did talk to the council for the Iowa Association of Counties. They think because there was a change in the law on the conference board that maybe that 93 opinion isn't as good. But they also say, but we're not going to speak to, we recognize conflict of interest issues, and we're not going to give a legal opinion as to whether or not those two positions are incompatible. So you got everybody who has an opinion, but not too many people that are going to give you a legal opinion. So again, my position is they're incompatible, and my position is based on protecting the city of Indianola, because again, if I'm right, fine. Nothing happens, we don't have a problem. If the other side's wrong and Stephanie Erickson can't be mayor, then we have a whole passel of problem. I don't want that. And again, she and I talked today. She got it. She understands it. She's trying to process it. And so, hopefully we'll come to that resolution. But that's my position now. Could I be swayed? Maybe. But again, I'm gonna take the most conservative approach, so. I'll never say never, but I'm kind of stubborn.
Okay. First, I will turn it to you, over to you guys. If you have any questions for Doug that you might want to ask.
So what's the process like? If we, you're saying we have roughly 30 days before we have to really make that determination, or well, not make the determination, but either appoint or go down the road of special or a special election.
I think 30 days at least gives you time to do the notice of appointment and then give somebody 14 days to see if you want to force a special election. So we'd be within the appropriate timeframes.
We kind of need to act on the next council meeting then?
Based on our conversation today, you said that 60-day clock started ticking on the second.
January 2nd, when she assumed the position of supervisor. In my view.
That would put it.
Our next meeting is the 21st, for anybody wondering. Them rare Tuesday ones. Christina, Melissa, Steve, do you have any questions for Doug?
So you said the clock started ticking on January 2nd when she took office for the county. But you also mentioned that she was wanting to take more time to speak with legal counsel and
Right.
see what her position is.
Right.
Should it be overturned or an opinion be given that says that, you know, she can proceed as mayor as well? Then where would we be in that?
I'll present it to you, then it'll be
Okay.
your decision. But I'll still give you whether my opinion has changed or not. And like I say, I'm pretty stubborn. I don't know that I will change, but. Because again, council's next on the line, and so is mine getting a legal opinion. So I'm gonna be darn sure that what I say is not gonna close the city.
Does that expose us to personal liability though?
Possibly.
And
The good thing is, if you rely on council,
Mhm.
gives you a lot of shield. Because you can say the dumb lawyer told me to do it. And you go against legal counsel, someone could argue that you went outside scope of your authority. You should.
What does that personal liability look like? What could happen to us?
That's it. I mean, the biggest thing of what would be the damages that would occur if you did take action. It would later have to be found to have been null and void. So is there huge risk that something like that's gonna happen? I don't know. The problem is in my world, I get people coming into my office all the time saying, I never thought this could happen. And my job is to say, yeah, it does happen. So I'm gonna hope for the best, but I have to plan for the worst. So you can have somebody that says, well, this development agreement that you had Stephanie Erickson sign in late January, it's no good. The TIF agreement that you have is no good. And that's the kind of things I worry about is coming in and trying to get an advantage over someone else. Obviously, if you've got your agreement signed, you don't care. Peter Pan signed it, but as long as you go forward with your agreement, that somebody else might come in, that's the thing. So it's kind of uncharted territory, so I just don't know, but I can't tell you there's no way.
In the meantime, say we have some emergency meeting that comes up and we have to have something signed. We would just need to have Mayor Pro Tem sign. and
We're following council
instead.
procedure right now.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, regardless, even if Stephanie had resigned, Mayor Pro Tem would be the one take the meetings and tell. So we're good on council.
Back to Ron's question on liability though, is that, we talk about personal liability and I mean, would that draw us into certain situations where we might be financially responsible for some things? Is that something that you're talking about here? Or is it something that if we don't follow your opinion, let's say?
Well, I hope not, but somebody could could say, look, you were told not to do this and you did it. And your act is multi-virus and you were outside the scope of your duties. Now, hope you still have insurance coverage, all that, but I can't tell you that that couldn't happen.
Right.
Right.
Well, do you have any questions?
I guess in the 2 weeks, we're waiting for Stephanie's legal counsel to weigh in. Because you said it's gonna take months for the AGs.
Could, unless somebody's gonna, usually it takes
They're gonna
months, because they go through the
expedite things.
process of evaluating themselves.
Do you know if we have an opinion from Doug Eichholz at all? I know we got an email from Mickey at League of Cities today recommending an opinion from you, county attorney and AG. So we got we're at 33%, right?
Doug, is on the letter requesting AG's opinion with me.
Okay.
So county was brought up the issue as well to Amy being my partner. So we went together on a letter of clarification. Now, again, it's not as big an issue for the county because, you know, that their supervisor is good, in her position, no matter what. So, but I think, you know, I won't speak to Doug, but he did agree and was, willing to go in on the request for an attorney general's opinion with it.
Now, should the attorney general change their opinion on this matter? Because when I was looking back through the different case law stuff, it looked like it was maybe decided that way because the mayor in question had voting rights as well.
Well, I think that, I don't know that the mayor had voting rights, but the mayor does have voting rights on the conference board. And I think that's what they were talking about, if I remember correctly. So,
I just didn't know if the fact that being in her position here, she doesn't really hold a vote. So if that could possibly sway their opinion on things and then open us up to any kind of liability. Stephanie, if we prematurely voted to remove, you know.
you don't need to rely on that.
Okay.
But she still would have to, she was sitting in that position and she'd be signing the documents, so.
That's what I can't. I just, based on my analysis, I just.
So we're kind of stuck between a situation where we've got a 60-day window. And whether or not the time frame for her to make some decisions, I guess my question there's two things here. Number one is two competing opinions. The only way to fight that out is, or to make that decision is through a court. Is that correct?
Right.
So what would happen then is if, you know, they would want to stick with that competing position, then we would end up in court anyway, and you'd be our representative in court then, is that correct? As I'm assuming it is. So that's the only way it's going to happen. Because two competing decisions, if you're our attorney, we hired you, therefore, to follow you would make more sense. I mean, for liability issues and other things as well. I just don't understand why I'd want to go to court on that, but taxation issues, you mentioned that. So are we talking, you said TIF agreements. So all the TIF agreements that we got going on right now are part of that, as you see as a conflict then?
Yep.
So you don't necessarily need direction tonight, right?
Right.
But we probably could go through and say, do we want to give direction tonight, or is your direction to wait until the 21st? That makes sense.
I have one more thing.
Oh, okay, go. Sorry.
Christina said something that's sparked a question for me. If we were to do something such as giving direction that we want to move forward with vacating, what are the ramifications of that if she were to come back with an opinion that she can hold?
Well, the only opinion that, to me, that would matter would be a court opinion. So we'd have to go through some type of litigation. But again, you're relying on legal advice. That's what you pay us to do. So I got broad shoulders. And, you know, somebody might disagree with me. But I certainly don't think that any court is going to say that our position is wildly out of tune. Because this is an unsettled area that I'm telling you, I'm pretty comfortable with that standpoint. And, you know, I don't, again, it doesn't come down to being, you know, winning. It comes down to making sure that we put the city in a position that they do something with someone later. Things that's the worst of all. I'll take somebody saying, God, that guy's really not very bright. But I don't want this thing to blow up. And neither does Stephanie, honestly. I can tell you that right now. She
Oh, I
said
agree.
the same thing.
Yep,
Well,
I just, looking at both sides is all.
yeah, me too. Well, and we've got an oath of office then to uphold our own ordinances and laws of the state of Iowa too, that gotta uphold.
And just so you know, also somebody asked me, I don't think there's nobody on the council, but somebody said, well, why don't they just have a rule that you can't do that? Well, really, it'd be hard for this council to do that because state law.
So if any direction for this meeting, you can give your direction, or your direction can be, let's see if there's any type of resolution between now and the 21st. So Christina, do you have any direction that you want to go with?
I mean, I think Stephanie has requested just a little more time to maybe look into it, and I think out of respect that we should at least go that route. I mean, we're not pressed on time at this point, but that we have until the next meeting, so I think we should allow that until the next meeting, and then at that time, make our decision.
Okay. Melissa?
Would agree with that. Yeah, we would still have time to act. Be within our 60 days.
Steve?
Well, the problem I have with that is that even if she has a competing opinion, doesn't necessarily change our position with our attorney. And so my concern is that we give that time, we have a competing opinion, and so then the question becomes, where are we at that point in time? As you just said, the only way that you're gonna find that out is to be in a court and have a judge make that determination. In the meantime, we vacated, I mean, what they're saying is that January 2nd, she vacated that position. So then let's say we do get a court date, how far out do you think those are?
Oh, yeah. You're welcome.
And so then we're under that violation of that 60-day rule.
As long as we were in a court.
We'd have a court opinion that would stay that. I have some concerns about that. I think we need to move forward.
Feel like we're being hamstrung a little bit here. The election was in November. It's January and we're still kind of in limbo here a little bit. And every time Doug has to talk about this, it's costing the taxpayers more and more money. I personally would like to move forward, but I'm only one vote.
My direction would be, knowing we have time, that we wait until the 21st. And if we have no further information, then we take action. You know, there is a chance that maybe the AG's office has a ruling potentially. And I don't know if that then influences, Doug, you know, your thoughts.
Oh, yeah, it's one thing. It's not precedential necessarily like a court case would be, but it certainly would have something. That's the one thing that could influence me.
So that would be the direction that I have as well, is on the 21st that we have another item to bring this back up and see if there's any further developments or information, and then we will make our decisions then on if.
So on the 21st, do you want the resolution of intent to appoint a mayor in case you want to go that route? And then if you don't, you can just pull that agenda item.
That's what I would suggest.
I would vote special election. You know how I roll. I guess we should do that direction then right now then too, just to make sure everybody's thought on special election or appointment is out there.
Well, I think that's a question that we can talk about on the 21st, if that's the direction we're going, and let Jackie put that resolution on, and then we can make that decision if we move that point forward.
Okay.
Just do both. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is public comment, and I have two, so I will go in order that I've received them. So Amy Duncan, you are first, so if you want to come up and state your name and address.
I don't talk very often, so. Amy Duncan, 611 West Ashland, and I'm the owner of the Record Herald and Indianola Tribune, which I hope everybody is aware is the city's official newspaper. It has been for longer than I can remember. And while we obviously publish your public notices, such as your budgets, your minutes for both the city and IMU, in the print newspaper, I also wanted to make sure you're aware that we place every public notice, all of your organizations, online at iowapublicnotices.com. It's a central website, a service of the Iowa Newspaper Association and its membership. It ensures that all public notices published in newspapers across the state are easily accessible in one place, empowering citizens with the information they need to stay informed. The cost is covered by the members of the INA, so there's no charge to taxpayers. While we've done this for many years, this year the association upgraded our system to add some new functionality that I thought people might want to know about. The most exciting of these, if public notices are ever exciting, is that anyone who wants to track specific types of notices can register for something called Smart Search. So if you want to know about zoning or budgets, or I think library or your street address, you can put that information in. The search criteria will be saved for future visits, and you can choose to have an automatic daily update of your results. So if you want to know about every public notice regarding the library, you will get an email every time a public notice about the library appears. It's a great new service. You can find it at iowapublicnotices.com or by going to the Independent Advocate website and following the link. Check it out and let me know if you need help or if there's something I can do to help you with it. Or ask Jason, who would probably understand it better than I do.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Susan Glick.
My name is Susan Glick and I live at 511 West Boston. I was gonna come in December, but took a little spill on the ice, so I'm here now. But
You're
after,
okay.
yeah, I'm better. After I read the council retreat article in the online newspaper, that's why I was gonna come. Because I wanted to encourage you to have some public meetings now, before you get a big idea of what you're gonna do. To hear what the public's got to say. Because it's been going around out there. People are talking about different things and some don't have an understanding of some of it. But I think you could answer questions and get their input, and that would be a good idea to touch base with the public. Might help you determine what you want to come forward with. There's already a petition out there in opposition about the activity center. The people that use it don't want to move. And they also seem to be concerned about the library. Some don't even know it's already a done deal and it's traded away to the county. Think they would know, but maybe that was done a while back and nobody really remembers it. After Ben, I came the last time and heard Ben's presentation. Of course, he's gone now, so that's probably all water under the bridge. But after that, the police came forward with an idea that they could refurbish this building and get into it a lot sooner than probably they were going to get anything new built. And so that might be an idea. It would serve their needs sooner. Another thing that people mention is the county yard out there by the elevators. Has it been tested? Are there contaminants? They're going to be a big expense with doing something with that. Nobody seems to want to put the library there, so maybe that's not even in the works anymore. Might be a place for the street department. I don't know about this, if there's enough room behind the activity center to put a 2-story building for the library and city hall. That's been something that's been brought up that people are talking about. And the fire station, I think there's probably been enough time gone since the lot across the street was sold that people are over it and they might approve something for you. But you know, that was a deterrent for a long time. Because the people were upset that that lot was sold and then they wanted to come and have a bond issue to buy something new. So I just think it would fare you well to make, and in making plans, is to have some meetings, let the community get involved and listen to them and maybe answer some questions that would help inform them a little better than maybe what they are now. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to come speak? Seeing none, we will go to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled?
I need to pull claims, please.
B? Anything else?
I just have a question on H when we get to that point. So I would move approval for everything but item B. Item H, the resolution for facilities and maintenance fund transfer. That now, I know we are doing that because the auditor recommends it and that we need to do that. That fund, was that outside of file 718 previously, or was that part of all things that we had to include? That was all part of it?
No, I had no issue with that. Just when we hired a maintenance person and set up that fund, it was initially set up as an internal service fund, thinking that all of the departments would contribute to it, and that's not how it's been used. So we need to
Okay,
move it.
that's the reason. Okay, fine, I'm perfectly fine.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
Want Wade to run through anything on it?
Wade, is there anything you'd like to high level talk about? On the
Not really. I noticed last time that Ben read through all the items. That's different than how I've seen consent agendas handled in the past. Usually what happens is what just happened now is somebody asked for an item to be pulled and put onto the regular agenda. Yeah, Steve, I'm happy to read as much of it as, or as little of it as you all would like, but at least what I've seen in other communities is the conversation kind of ends with what we just did. And not that I wouldn't speak to any item on there. Lots of times you may like just give the council 30 seconds, like just a little pause to look at the items, because we go all the way through O, and maybe everybody hasn't had a chance to review all of them. So a brief moment to see if there's anything else that wants to be pulled, and then ask for a motion to approve it.
The only reason that we've done this in the past and start doing that is because there was some concern in some past situations where the council would move forward past that, and there was nobody in the audience really knew what was really happening. And so that's why we had Ben start doing that. And so I personally, I'd like to see us at least mention what's there, just a quick run through, but I guess we really hadn't talked about that. So am I correct on that? Is why we had been doing that? Is that?
I wasn't here for it.
That's right, you weren't. Yeah.
Just how it was for me.
Yeah.
No, Ron.
That's the reason we had been running through, just to
Yeah.
people in the audience, people watching online that didn't have access to the agenda, or
Right.
just to help keep them a little more informed on what we were voting yes on.
And I don't think it was originally supposed to be necessarily every single item on the consent agenda, just maybe some like of, signings or, things like that, simple stuff, just so people knew what was going on and moving forward. Doesn't have to be everything.
I do have a question on the Home Base Iowa applications. I think it's a great program. How many do we normally do in a year?
It varies from year to year. I think a couple years ago, we only did 2 or 3, and this year we've done 6. So I think the VA here in town is a lot more
active. Yeah.
helpful with letting people.
That's great.
I think it's an awesome program.
Yeah, I do too. I noticed once, a couple months outside the 6 months, but
You've approved a couple of others earlier this year that were the same.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're
I
done.
think it's great. Might be off.
Oh, you're good. I interrupted you. Christina's right. I think one of the issues too is the third considerations. Normally past iterations and many centuries ago when I was on the council before. But we always put those separate items. They were always separate items that were part of the agenda, not a consent agenda. And so when these got put on to the consent agenda, I think it's important that we let folks know that these are the second and third readings of those kinds of things. So we got three items. There's third reading of adoption and ordinance for the division of revenues under section 40319. And amendment number 8, the Hillcrest Downtown Unified Urban Renewal Plan. And we've got a third consideration for the adoption of the division of revenues under section 40319 Code of Ohio for Kentucky Ridge Urban Renewal. And second consideration for ordinance for the division of revenues for Summercrest Hills. And that's really just setting up the taxation and the TIF. Is that correct? Is that how that's working? What we're doing? And a resolution for that I'd asked Jackie about on that one question. And so.
All right, anything else? Jackie?
Councilmember Dolly?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones? Richardson?
Aye.
Okay, I need a first and second motion for the approval of item B, the approval of claims.
Hello.
Second.
Melissa, since you had a poll.
Yes, I had a registration for the Warren County Economic Development Leadership course. Being paid. Abstain.
Jackie?
Councilmember Dolly?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Abstain.
Richardson?
Aye.
Okay, next up under council reports, we have affirm recommendations regarding city manager recruitment. I need a first and second.
Yeah.
All right, discussion.
Yes, I want to bring up the couple of things. Of course, we want to be competitive and make sure that we're putting this out there to attract the most qualified candidates. When I looked through it, the cities that we're using for comparables didn't seem to match what I thought we normally used. So I had a question about the cities that were used. So I'm not sure who that's a question for, if it's Courtney or
Charlene's on.
Charlene.
Online.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just trying to get my video and audio connected. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Happy to see you this evening. That was just that data was used because we just recently did the city recruitment for the city of Urbandale. Those were some of the most kind of current comparables that we had. And that is why we kind of, gave you that latitude of about 200,000 to 230. It is plus or minus. So trying to place you competitively, but also giving you enough latitude in that range for candidates.
That, Charlene, but that doesn't really go along with the salary comparisons that we've done in the past. Is that correct?
It may not be. It may not be using the same communities. My understanding was that the city didn't have an established range for the position.
That's correct. I think, I don't want to speak for Councilmember Sones, but I would like to see us also look at those 15 cities that I think it's 15 that we have, if I'm not mistaken, on salary ranges of where we are with that.
We can do that.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense.
Yeah, we certainly can do that for you and get some additional data.
Steve, you're right. That is where I was going, is using the cities that we use for the rest of our employees.
I kind of agree with Melissa here a little bit. Some of these cities that are on here, like Ankeny and Altoona, West Des Moines, some of those cities have a much larger industrial tax base than what we have. So therefore, they're going to be able to afford a little higher salary there. So I think in that, staff study, we had some cities such as Oskaloosa, Newton, and some of those other cities that are maybe a little more comparable to our size and our industrial base as well, so.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we need to stick with cities that are more our size and our genre.
Yeah.
Base.
And I fully agree with everything that's been said. I just think that if we did that for the rest of our employees too, that we probably ought to do the same for our city managers. We start recruiting those folks in, so. Good for the goose, good for the gander, so.
And obviously, you know, what we end up offering is gonna be based off of experience.
Sure.
But yeah, if we can tweak that number a bit to maybe be a little more in line with maybe some of our more fair competition, maybe.
And we can amend this number too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was gonna say, you also don't have to necessarily establish that range right now. I mean, we need to have it before we post the range. So if you'd like me to get some additional data on that, it probably kind of pushes the range maybe more in the, it may be lower, you know, it'll maybe move it 10, 15,000. It's not gonna move it, I don't think, all that significantly in that. But we can move that range, and again, it's a range, and you can hire within that range, and that's the way we also always put the plus or minus there to give you the opportunity to work with a candidate that, you know, you might find that's highly qualified, that might be very near the top of your advertised range.
We know what the range was 2.5 years ago.
That was
I
one.
can,
Go ahead.
yeah, it was lower at that time. I have that advertisement because we did it. I want to say, off the top of my head, it was maybe 150 to 170 or so.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that might have been, at, you know, where it was at about that time.
So the schedule that you've got here on recruitment, I see that this week you're kicking off interviews with stakeholders. Who all's included in those discussions?
Well, obviously, we would start with mayor and council in that, and then in the past, we have interviewed some of the directors too. So assuming that you are, you know, prepared to go forward, we would, we'll begin reaching out to the members of council and department directors. If there are some other community stakeholders that'd like us to talk to, certainly happy to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Charlene, if we were to decide to want the research done with the comparables that we use and have another number come back, how much farther does this set us back on the process?
Yeah, I don't really think that it sets you significantly back on the process. I think we can gather that data very quickly.
Charlene, what's your experience with candidates that once an employment contract is offered and they agree, how much time do they normally have to exit from their current job into their new job?
Typically 30 to 45 days.
So we're looking here that right now in our projected timeline, you're looking finalist interviews the week of March 31st. Candidate would probably be offered the job if this all works out early April. So then you'd be looking probably middle of June again.
Probably May. Well, I'd say probably May. I think if you can expedite things. And again, I built in 2 interviews in the process. Again, you know, you may find you can narrow the candidate pool more quickly and not need 2 interviews, and simply, you know, if you have 2 to 3 candidates that you're very comfortable with as a council, you might not need that second interview as well. And there are some things sometimes, you know, we can do to kind of tighten up the schedule as we go through. And because we did the recruitment previously and do have a lot of the recruitment materials drafted, that's why I think it's important for us to talk with the council. Obviously, some priorities and some things have probably changed in the last couple of years, but some of the community descriptions, some of the materials. It's not going to take us a very long time to update those after our conversation. So I think, that's why we were proposing that we could potentially have a position ready to be advertised on the 13th.
I'm not trying to rush this along at all. In fact, I want to make sure that we do this properly and we take our time like we did the last time around. I thought the last process that we did was very, very good, where we had a lot of different community folks involved, and I thought that was excellent. And discussing with the candidates that were here, I think they also thought it was a pretty good process. And so I don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to push things forward. I just want to make sure that we take our time, we do what we need to do. And if you think it's important that we do a couple of interviews, I don't disagree with that. I'm just kind of back to, I think, I'm not sure where Steve was headed with his question, but I think it was kind of, how long are we looking out here and where we are? And I think that's a valid question. So.
Yeah, I don't want to set us back significantly if we have a range in mind that we'd want to amend to, but.
That's fine. I think we're okay. We'll figure it out.
To be honest, I'm kind of open to having a higher salary, so we maybe attract somebody who is better qualified, more qualified, to get us where we need to go over the next couple of years, next 5-10 years, longer, hopefully. Got a lot of big projects coming up, and I think it's important that we have someone who knows how to push those projects forward in a timely manner too.
Agreed.
One
Ron,
suggestion I have is maybe you want to lower the end of the bottom part of the range, give yourselves a little more, maybe if you'd like that to be more like 190. If you would feel more comfortable with that as kind of the bottom of the range or the starting point of the range, you could certainly kind of move in that direction. And I think still be very competitive.
We like that idea. And I agree with Christine. I don't want to limit our candidate pool by what our top salary is, right? Because we do have a lot going on in the community, and we'll have for several years, so.
I think you're right. I also would like them to certainly come back with some more information from those other comparable cities, and I see where we are. And I think Steve's right. We can look at this as we move forward here in another week, or by the next meeting, we can kind of come up with a number, maybe it works. I don't know let's see where we are in this here.
I mean, I would be okay if we just amended the lower number to 190 and then just move forward.
you always make a motion to amend.
I would make that motion then to amend that we change it.
No, we just need to give them direction. Yeah, we're good. That's fine. I think if that's where you guys want to go, it's okay. Seems like a lot of money. I know that, but what's getting paid these days?
To clarify for when we vote. The direction is to affirm the recommendation regarding the city manager recruitment with the range of 190 to 230.
Did we actually vote on this, or we're just talking about it? Yeah, we're just talking
We
about
did
it.
first and second.
Did we do it first and second?
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's all right.
guess that's where we are.
So then do we need a motion then?
Already got one.
We got them.
You can amend it to 190 though, or whatever. Make go with her recommendation based on what we talked about. That's fine. Darlene, do you have your direction?
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay.
Happy to answer any other questions about the recruitment, and if not, then we'll reach out through Courtney and kind of start scheduling conversations with all of you.
I think that's it. Good.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Got a motion on the floor.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Sons,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Bowden.
Aye.
Okay, next up is direction regarding Vision 2030. So Wade, Jackie, is there anything specific that we want to talk about regarding the direction of Vision 2030?
We were thinking about asking Michael Maloney to come in and talk a little bit about our bonding capacity and other revenue sources, just so we could get a better handle around, how much money we can afford. But we had asked him to come to the 21st. At the time I asked him that, I wasn't entirely sure how the front of tonight's agenda was gonna play out, and we thought maybe the 21st was a better night for that. So knowing that he's likely gonna come in at that time and talk to us then, we would just be looking for any questions that you would wanna ask us to put to him in the next 2 weeks. Any things you'd want us to work through to get ready for that meeting in 2 weeks and 1 day.
So for me, I'd say, in terms of our sewer rates, obviously that's one of the big things we're gonna be talking about. And I know Jackie, I'd emailed you and Roxanne about just the shortfall in general. Like, what is it that we need to do in general to get ourselves to that 100%? And what would that number be? And then,
You're talking about on the sewer?
yeah. And then what can be afforded after that? Wade provided us our debt levy information. We have that. And then I think it's just a matter of, do we want to move forward once we get that information from Michael on sewer rates for what we just need to do to get to the 100%? We want to continue down that journey. Do we want to wait for a new city manager to come in to guide us down that journey? And I think Susan brought up a great point tonight in public comment. If we do decide to go down the Vision 2030 journey, I do think we need to have public meetings where we talk about all the different potential ideas and plans to help provide clarification for the public on what's gonna go where, what could go where, et cetera, because there are a lot of moving parts that could happen with it. And so if we do decide we want to go down that journey, I think it's important that we are as transparent as we possibly can be with the public. And so I think the first step is having Michael here to tell us just the basic information about our sewer rates.
I think it's that, and it's a lot of other factors too. My thinking as I was looking at this on the agenda is that, having talked with fire and police department, and a few other things about what's going on, I honestly think it's probably all back on the table in a lot of different ways. I mean, we can look at what we got. I think Michael's gonna make it very clear probably what we actually have as bonding capacity and where we are, and that's probably gonna limit a lot of things that we decide. And so I think, to Susan's point, I just think obviously that we probably just need to set aside some time that night, or if, depending on how long the agenda is, but maybe it's even a study session. Yeah. That we spend an hour on that and have the public come in and we can talk about it, because frankly and honestly, I'm not sure, once we get the numbers and we know what we got, I think we're gonna have to figure out where we can go and what we can do. And it may be something that I also want to talk about. Do we go back to the original bond issue thing, the thought of actually taking it to a vote in November? And personally, I think all of those things have to kind of be back on the table. But listen, I'm okay with a lot of discussion and figuring out where we need to go as a group. But I think we just need to have those conversations in an open setting and let us talk about it and have the ability to get some feedback from people that are involved too.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah, so I maybe just put it on, have him available for a study session. That's what we do.
Some of the questions just in my one-on-one conversations, there was a lot of questions about the mechanics of TIF. If any of you have any of those questions and would email me, so I can send them to Michael in advance of that meeting. Not that I don't think he couldn't potentially handle them on the spot, but sometimes there are some complicated questions regarding TIF that might need a little pre-research. So if there's any questions you have on TIF that you want me to research, please send them to me.
So I guess for myself, The biggest concern I have is that this all started as a discussion for a new fire and police station. Because that was the most needed
Mhm.
thing. And we have strayed so far from that now with this whole 2030 vision that PD is being put at the end of the plan. And for myself, I have issue with that, and I always have. I had concerns with doing the trade with the county and it putting us on a timeline and a deadline. And that tying our hands with how we handle things, and that is exactly where we are now. We're getting into a time crunch, and if certain things aren't done, then it's just going to cause a catastrophic domino effect. So I guess my biggest thing for them would be, how do we move forward with this financially that we can keep PD and fire up front as the priority in these projects without delaying them further. While also meeting our deadlines for moving the library and the new potential library. I guess I would like to see all available financial options. I don't care whether it's grants, bonds, whatever that option is, I would like to have every single option presented to us so we can make a fully informed decision for the taxpayers of this city.
And I agree 100%. One of the reasons that we kind of shelved the bond issue back last August was we didn't have the time to get it out to the voters and stuff. And I think frankly and honestly, I love the conversation right now because we're starting to talk about it in January. It gives us time, if we stay on track and keep moving this forward, and once we kind of come up with a direction that the six of us can figure out, that we then keep it on track. If it's a bond issue in November, it's a bond issue. If we do something else, it's something else, and we keep that on track and we have a schedule in place that gets us down that road so that by the end of the year, we've got some decisions made. And I would say one other thing about Mrs. Glick's comments about the issues with is the contaminated soil. We have done what the heck is it? Level 1 contamination. Is that what it is? Phase 1 environmental, but that's only good for 180 days. So we're gonna have to do another phase 1 environmental. And that would probably lead us to a phase 2 just to make sure that we've got everything, which digs a little deeper. Am I right on that, Wade? Is that it digs deeper than the phase 1 does?
Yes, I wasn't sure on the 180, but
Yeah.
phase 2 definitely goes deeper.
Yeah, but I was informed last year at the Iowa League, I think Melissa may have been on that meeting as well, that we were informed that those phase 1s are only valid for 180 days. So if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to redo it and go back and do that again. So, but that's something else we may need to be talking about and part of that group. And maybe that's something we want to have just a little bit of a discussion or some information on, what it takes to get a phase 1 going and a phase 2.
A couple things for me, in the retreat that we had asked for a list of all the property that we owned, so that going into this
Yeah.
discussion, we have all the options available to us.
Yeah, we weren't
I-
given those at
Right,
all.
we're still waiting on that. And then I would also like to know if, I know in correspondence, when I sent to Michael Maloney my questions, we were provided the list of our debts, and I would like to know if we can get that updated with our development agreement. What that would take. I think that's important for our discussion. I don't know if that's something he can get before he comes to us on the 21st or not.
Did I
It would
see,
be helpful.
did I see something from him that he gave us? Thought I did a timeline that says there really something's even gonna come up on one of these developments that are already starting to be built would be,
It's in the financial agreement or
Okay.
statement.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
It
Shows
I know
the,
it's years out,
Shows the geo bonds and the revenue bonds and when they mature.
Right,
but it would be helpful to see where those things are gonna hit us
exactly.
as we
This
start
whole
to plan
process,
this.
Yeah.
Christina, I would like to echo my frustrations with you on PD getting and fire getting pushed
Yeah.
Oh,
back.
sure, yeah,
One
they were our
of the-
number one priority.
the frustrations that I expressed in the retreat, so. I think we have to refocus on what our number one priority was from January of 24. Do you have anything you'd like him to take away from Michael?
Just gather my questions and email them away.
Okay, perfect.
Is there anything you want from OPN?
We get an update on what they're doing with the library design. I don't know what that is, so
I don't,
cost parameters, we probably
Yeah.
should do that.
great question. I don't want to necessarily throw out the fact that we might come back to the original plan a little bit and maybe reduce it or do whatever we can. Would it be possible to see what kind of costs are involved if we pick that back up again from both HR Green and OPN? I think that's another option that we want to look at.
Which one? You're not talking like 3 years ago.
No, I'm talking about the one that we
The
tanked
most
in
recent.
August, yeah.
Ryan and
Yeah. But I think we need to have information from them that if we feel that's still the best location, this is still the best location, that we figure out, we know what those costs are too. So we can make good decisions on those kinds of things. I think it's all on the table, to be honest with you.
Lee, Jackie, you good on?
Think of any other questions, please reach out.
Yeah,
We can
good.
be prepared for you.
Okay. Next, council committee reports. You have any?
I do not.
No? I have a Catch Des Moines meeting on the 23rd. That's a Thursday, right? Getting lost in the day. Our first quarter meeting there. Councilman Richardson and I will be at a partnership meeting on the 10th for some federal policy
Yeah, for
discussion.
the DC trip.
Oh.
That's another thing too, folks. I know I've gone the last couple of years. I think I would prefer somebody else go, just simply from the fact, I'd be happy to go again, but I think it's something that you all need to kind of experience a little bit if you can make the time to do it. It's May 8th through the 10th. If you can make it work, great, but I do think we need to send 2 people and make sure that we're represented. And this is what Steve and I are going to on the 10th, is to provide some Warren County projects for the partnership to push, which one of them is discussing Highway 92 to the interstate, finishing that out as a Super 2. The other project is looking at a full turn lane through on Jefferson Way, at least down to Highway 92. So I don't know if you've noticed the congestion every night now that's backed up on about 5 o'clock from basically all the way up to Euclid in some cases.
Christina, any reports, updates? Melissa?
We have a landfill meeting coming up that's packed full of fun stuff, so we'll have a report.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Steve, you have anything?
No, you got her covered it.
All right. Next up is the mayor's report, and there is a proclamation declaring the month of January as Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month in the city of Indianola. So I will read the proclamation. Bear with me. There's a lot here. Proclamation for the Human Trafficking Prevention Awareness Month, whereas human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person into commercial sex acts or labor services against their will. Exploitation of a minor for commercial sex is human trafficking, regardless of whether any form of force, fraud, or coercion was used. There is no such thing as child prostitution. And whereas Iowa has seen a concerning rise in labor trafficking cases, particularly among immigrant children from Central America, who are often coerced into exploitative agriculture and factory work under the pretense of opportunity, a trend mirrored in other rural communities across the nation. Sadly, sexual exploitation often goes hand in hand with labor trafficking, which can also involve illegal arms and drug trafficking in Iowa. And whereas, despite increased advocacy and resources, there remains a stark gap between the number of survivors receiving assistance and the successful prosecution of perpetrators, with fewer than 5% of reported trafficking cases in the Midwest resulting in criminal convictions in 2023. And whereas despite increased awareness and efforts, human trafficking continues to be underreported and often goes undetected, with the true extent likely underestimated due to its clandestine nature, the ability to hide it in rural areas, and the reluctance of victims to come forward. Studies suggest that only about 1% of trafficking victims are identified. And whereas every business, community organization, faith community, family, and individual can make a difference by working to protect the vulnerable within their sphere of influence by addressing the problem of internet sex trafficking and exploitation, especially that targeting Iowa's children. Nationwide, we have moved away from a play-based to screen-based childhood. 1 in 5 youth aged 10 to 17 report being approached by an online predator. Note that these are only the numbers reported. In 2023, social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube logged millions of pieces of child's sexual abuse material, which were referred to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for further investigation. U.S. teens report spending an average of 9 hours a day online, excluding homework time. And whereas the city of Indianola joins Chains Interrupted in their dedication to providing community outreach and education, legislative advocacy, training, promotion of services to survivors of human trafficking in collaboration with law enforcement. Now, therefore, I, Steve Armstrong, Mayor Pro Tem of Indianola, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of January as Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month and encourage all our citizens to become more informed on this growing problem, to be vigilant and report suspicious activity, and to work towards solutions to end trafficking in its forms in our community. For assistance with this, reach out to Chains Interrupted at 319-364-0222. If you see something that doesn't look right, reach out to the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. And I know Tish is here in the audience and she would like to come up and say something as well.
I'm Len Chen, Braeside, and I'm the co-founder and Central Iowa Development Director. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank every one of you for your part in this. We hear a lot of stories. It's hard to hear that human trafficking is a part of Iowa. It is. I'm going to keep it brief, but a couple of stories. A young girl, 16, was brought to a town here in Iowa, and she ran away from her trafficker. She was found in a public building. We had trained the employees of this building what to look for and how to approach someone that they suspected was being trafficked, so they're not further traumatized or freaked out and go and left. So she was able to get a hold of us. We worked with law enforcement and she got back home. That's one story. I'm working with a gal in this area. It happened in her home. A respected family in a nearby community, and her mother trafficked her on the weekends, drugged her and trafficked her on the weekends. It resulted in a couple of pregnancies that ended in abortion, and obviously the trauma that goes on. She was rescued as an adult from her house, and but even though she was an adult, she's very handicapped, so she would have had to be extracted. We're trying to file charges there. We talked about the play-based childhood has moved to a screen-based childhood, and we are really committed to making a difference here. The FBI agent I was listening to recently said the enemy has the keys to our front door, and it's through the internet. And I was a gal from Warren County. Her daughter, third grade daughter, was playing a game on her tablet, and avatars were able to inject themselves into this game. 5 male avatars, as the mother walked over, were gang raping her daughter's avatar in a child's game. So I'm starting a pilot parent group here. I'd love to have you all involved. Can't get rid of phones. We're not going to get rid of the internet. They aren't the enemy inherently, but what goes on is very dangerous for our children. So we really want to work with you, all of you, to help keep our kids safe. because the stories go on and on. I don't like it that I ruin every meeting that I go to, but I really appreciate the passion you folks have here in Indianola. So thank you. I'm going to stay, hopefully get a picture with you, and I have a list of our presentations that we offer, and you can talk to me later if you want to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up, under consideration is old business. So I have item 1, the village urban renewal plan. Item A, a public hearing on the proposed the village urban renewal plan. I need a first and second motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Leach.
Aye.
Stones.
Aye.
We are now in the public hearing. I guess turn over to Bill or Wade or whoever.
I know just a little bit about it from the questions I've asked. There's about $20 million worth of valuation. And there's about $3 million of public improvements that are going into this. I haven't read the plan or the development agreement beyond that, and can't really comment beyond that. I don't know how long at that valuation it would take to repay what's in the development agreement. So I apologize. That's about what I know.
Ben took care of a lot of the DA things in the past, so I'll maybe just remind you of what the Villages project is. They're extending Angela Drive to include 28 additional townhome units for different ranges of senior style living. They're constructing a new apartment building at the south end of the site, and they're performing some improvements to the existing facilities there. A new dining area, new entrance area, and some new wings for different different stages of long-term care. So that's the gist of the project. All the utilities are going in with Angela Drive. It will be a public street, so that's kind of where this TIF dollars comes into.
Bill, or Wade, because that is a TIF area, then does LMI apply to some of the development they're doing there as well?
I don't know. What I can tell you is, my predecessor Ben is listening in. In fact, he just sent me a text. He said that there was a prospective sent on this about a month ago. But I think he's in position to maybe jump on a phone call here and answer questions we have about it. So if any of you would like me to call and put him on speaker, I think we could maybe get all your questions answered.
Everybody else? I think the LMI issue, we can get that's. Well, the reason I'm asking that question is I'm a little confused about whether it applies to that or it's going to apply to a larger TIF district. And if you can get that answer for us, that'd be fine. That's really all we need.
Yeah, he says, yes, it does apply. LMI does apply.
Okay. So they will have, pardon me?
And the TIF agreement here was for 10 years.
Okay.
Like how long Angela Drive is going to be extended?
That wasn't a document that I thought we had.
I didn't see it in the plan.
It was in their original
Mm-hmm.
that they submitted. I'm trying to
Angela Drive's not gonna go all the way to,
Yeah.
it's not going all the way to East Street, but it's gonna come down and it's gonna be a cul-de-sac, if I can remember correctly. Yes.
I was just thinking in my head, we had TIF roughly a little over 3 million for the Summer Crest area.
Right.
And that road is gonna be longer than what I think Angela Drive would be. So I can't envision needing the full 3.4 million to complete that cul-de-sac area, but.
All right.
Hi, good evening. I'm Craig Flanagan. I'm the CFO for Wesley Retirement Services, so I can maybe help clarify a little bit of what we've been working on with Ben. I know there's been a transition here. So with Angela Drive, that'll be a cul-de-sac. So will not be a through street all the way out to, I think it's Northeast Drive there.
E Street, yeah.
E Street. It will be a cul-de-sac, which part of the redevelopment is the addition of townhome units, up to 28 units that would exist around the exterior of Angela Drive, in addition to the apartment building that would be associated with our main campus.
I've got a little more information coming in.
Okay.
So there's no LMI component like with this project. The LMI dollars will be segregated
Yes.
and the city will have to use that on a
Another
different,
project.
yeah, on a different
Okay,
LMI
that's-
project.
That was my question, yeah.
Yep. And he said what the debt that will be incurred for this project is not just the road, it'll be all the utilities.
Yeah,
like water.
the infrastructure.
Yep, there you go.
And that was, I believe in the Summercrest project, the infrastructure was mostly there to some extent versus this is extension of that particular street that didn't have any infrastructure. That's just a blank field right now. And I think some of the infrastructure was run, but I could be wrong on that other project.
Correct.
Okay. That's answered my question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good.
Dina? Melissa?
I think I heard someone say this is 10 years. Thank you.
Steve, you got any other questions? You good?
No, it's just public comment too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do next was public comment. Anybody in the public wanting to speak?
I so moved, we moved out of public comment.
Second.
Jackie?
Member Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Alright, the public hearing is closed. Item B is a resolution determining an area of the city to be an economic development area and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, development, or a combination thereof of such area is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects and adopting the village urban renewal plan. I need a first and second motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
If I remember correctly, this was basically just the village campus, primarily was the urban TIF area.
Yep.
Great.
Jackie?
Councilmember Stones?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Okay, item C is first consideration of ordinance for the division of revenues under section 403.19 Code of Iowa for the village urban renewal plan. A first and second motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
All right, item 2 is the Wesley Retirement Services Development Agreement. Item A under that is public hearing on the proposal to enter in a development agreement with Wesley Retirement Services, Inc. Need a first and second motion to enter the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Dalby?
Okay, we've now entered the public hearing. And I will turn it over to Wade / Bill. Do they have anything? Any questions, discussion from council?
Read the documents many times.
Yeah.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to come up and speak on the Wesley Retirement Services Development Agreement?
One thing I'd like to say on it, I think it's a great addition to the project, offers more opportunities for folks to get into not only townhomes, but independent living and assisted living as they need to. So I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great project.
Seeing none, need a first and second to close the public hearing.
Second.
Councilmember Richardson?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Stones.
Aye.
The public hearing is now closed. Item B is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement by and between the city of Indianola and Wesley Retirement Services, Inc. Need a first and second motion,
So moved.
discussion. Okay, Jackie?
Councilmember Sims,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Selby,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
All right, in other business, we have interim city manager report for Wade.
It's been an enjoyable 3 weeks. I think we've got a great staff. I haven't met with all of them, some of them. I haven't met with all of the council yet, but you know, from what I've seen, we've got a lot of great people, a lot of competent people in important positions. And got a lot of council members that care. And so I think a lot of the essential pieces of being a great community are in place. And I'm happy to be here.
Have you as well?
Absolutely.
Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. First and second.
Moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned. We will be going into exempt session